Hello everyone, welcome to the Peanut Gallery. I'm your host Jessa, and I'm fascinated by analyzing mood, personality, and general mental disorders with comic book and movie characters. You'll find all those strange thoughts shared right here. Note, I am not a licensed psychologist, nor am I trained. This is for entertainment purposes only, and to satisfy my hypomanic moods to talk. Again, I'm coming going to reiterate this throughout all the episodes. I am not a licensed nor trained psychologist. This is for entertainment purposes only, so I do hope you enjoy the episodes. Welcome to episode 3 of the Peanut Gallery. Today I'm going to try analyzing Vision, the android with an infinity stone in his forehead. Now this is probably going to be the last podcast I'll be able to do before Infinity War comes out this week. So I'm just really glad I was able to do Vision before I saw any spoilers. So simply put, he's an android, the physical body of Jarvis, and this all came about during Avengers Age of Ultron. Even though he's an android, he probably doesn't have any mental disorders to speak of, but he does have some problems with blending into society, including not understanding human emotions, etiquette, or much else. Even though he's practically the internet, he doesn't understand a lot of the situations that go on around him, and always relies on Wanda to help him figure out the things around him, or even needs her help to figure out some of the members of Earth's mightiest heroes and why they do the things they do and why they act the way they act. Now that makes this really interesting because he has to rely on a human, he has to rely on somebody else. And even though he has to rely on Wanda, he may not actually understand Wanda any better than the rest of them, but he feels more comfortable with her. That's why he chose her. Now, as far as personality, mood, or mental disorders, I am not really sure. Again, Vision was actually requested by Rational Gamers, and I have to say that I didn't think this would be as an adventure as it would have been when I was looking into Vision and going back and trying to rewatch Age of Ultron. But there's not much to go on with Vision. He hasn't had a lot of screen time, and prior to being Vision, he was Jarvis, so Vision is, for all intents and purposes, an android devoid of emotion, created out of necessity by Ultron and the Mind Stone. The fact that Tony was able to upload Jarvis into the body that Ultron created was fundamental because now Jarvis has a body, and maybe Tony sees this as a blessing because he's got his most trusted friend with him at all times. Although being an android, he's not just an android, kinda like the T-800 Model 101 in Terminator 2. In Terminator 2, he was reprogrammed, but Vision doesn't have any programming. So for Vision, he needs to learn to adapt to the human world and deal with everything that comes with it, including emotions and etiquette. I should clarify, first we see that Vision hands Mjolnir, I think I'm saying that right, I'm not sure, back to Thor, and this proves in the MCU that he's pure-hearted and worthy to lift the hammer. It's a significance to show that he's not evil but pure, and this is probably the first instance that the others see Vision as a person rather than an android, because I don't think that Mjolnir would allow an android, an artificial being with no heart, to lift itself. So this brings us to the majority of the confusion with Vision. It's still too early to say if he has personality disorders. He is a perfect being, but not so perfect that he has conflicting emotions. So I'm going to talk about what I've been able to see on screen for the time being, and that's his inability to understand human emotions as he has them too, or he's actually becoming to develop them. Now, it's a lot to try to talk about, and it's actually not a lot, it's actually very little to talk about, so I'm hoping that that this is not going to be so boring. But, so Vision is confused by humans, he's confused by emotions, and maybe when he first came about, he didn't pay attention to them, but as he spends more and more time with Wanda, he's starting to realize that there's more to him than just being an emotionless android. He's a perfect being, but then humans are imperfect because they're ruled by their emotions, and now Vision has the same thing. Vision is also starting to be ruled by his emotions because he has some kind of affection towards Wanda, and we see that in Civil War. Now, I know that there's a lot of Wanda Maximoff and Vision coupling going on in the fan world, and there's very good reason for that. It's because Wanda and Vision both share abilities that others don't have, and it makes them feel alone in the world, especially since Wanda lost her brother Pietro. At least it did for Wanda until Vision came along, and now there are they are two peas in a pod that can help each other. Vision leans on Wanda for emotional support with what he's experiencing, and I do believe that this leads him to care for her, to try to protect her. Sometimes a little too much, as we saw in Captain America Civil War when he tried to keep her in the compound, but she used her powers to throw him several feet below her so that she can escape with Clint in order to aid Steve Rogers. This most likely made Vision realize that he had to protect her at all costs. It was an emotion that he's probably still trying to understand why she went to Steve's side rather than Tony's. Vision is like a child learning new things, and as such, there is a lot to learn about human emotions. He's not sure what he's feeling because he doesn't know what he's feeling, and this is very important to his development. Everything in the world he can understand, computers, technology, the need for the Accords, etc., but it comes down to emotions, and that is where he gets lost. So, for that, it's very confusing for him. He doesn't have a grasp of these emotions. He's still kind of a newborn. He's highly advanced in other areas, yes, but when it comes down to why humans do the things they do, why humans are ruled by their emotion, that's something he hasn't learned. That's something he has not been able to grasp yet. And for the most part, it's fascinating because he doesn't have much screen time. We only know him as Jarvis, the disembodied voice AI system that Stark created. And that's not much to go on. He didn't have a body. He actually had a little bit of humor then. And that's what's interesting, because even back then, he had some kind of semi-self-sentience. And that was made with, you could tell. I know Tony made it as an AI system to kind of act human, but I don't think he would have actually thought it would go that far when he uploaded Jarvis into Ultron's body that he had created with the Mind Stone. So now that Jarvis is now Vision, and Vision has a body, and Vision is trying to understand human emotions, we see that he's very confused because you can tell that he cares for Wanda. He wants to protect her. He wants to keep her safe. Now, whether or not that's because he deems that she's very dangerous to the outside world, or that because people will see her and try to, pull a Bucky Barnes on her and consider her evil. But what I think he doesn't understand as of yet is that he actually cares about Wanda. He physically cares about her. And not because he wants to protect her from people, not because he wants to protect the outside world from her. He cares about her and wants to protect her because he genuinely likes her. I honestly believe that he does like her. We see that Wanda does like him in return. We can tell because they're both peas in a pod. They're both misunderstood by society. And Wanda can lean on Vision for support because he can understand her abilities and her powers, and she can understand his abilities and his powers. So continuing on. So Vision, he doesn't, as I said before, he doesn't understand human emotions. He doesn't understand etiquette. He doesn't understand anything. He can understand technology. He can understand mechanical things. And he can understand a whole lot more than anybody else can. But as far as humans go, he doesn't understand. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't understand Thor's boisterous attitude and loud voice. I don't think anybody's gonna understand that, because even Loki's a little bit quiet. So with Loki being quiet and Thor being loud, it's confusing for Vision. He doesn't quite understand how to, I suppose, cope with these emotions, and especially since he's having them as well. He probably felt anger when Wanda left and, went to go aid Steve Rogers in Civil War. And he probably didn't understand what that anger was meant for. He couldn't actually analyze anger. You can't analyze emotions, and I think that's where he becomes very confused, is because he can't analyze these things. It's impossible. And for him, being an android who doesn't understand emotions, this is fundamental for his character development, and that makes it far more interesting, because I know there's a lot of WandaVision stuff going around, and I do know some of the comic book history with them. So I do know some things. Now, I think the reason why Vision attaches himself to Wanda so much is because Wanda actually doesn't treat him like an android. She treats him like a person, and that's what he wants most in the world. He wants to be treated like a human, like a person. Because in actuality, he is a person. He has his own thoughts. He has his own free will. He can make choices. He made a choice to use his powers on Clint to prevent him from taking Wanda, and Wanda in turn used her powers to free Clint and escape with him to help Steve Rogers in Civil War. Now, that's paramount because Vision chose to try to protect her. He chose to attack a fellow Avenger. That makes him human. The fact that he doesn't see that yet is really fascinating, and I hope in Infinity War, when it comes out, there are some teasers and we all know what's going to happen with that. But I'm hoping in Infinity War that they can explore his emotions a little more, that he can be more emotional, maybe a little bit more human-like towards his companions. Maybe he can accept that, okay, I'm an android, but I'm not an android. I'm a person. I'm a human. He is a human. He has different colored skin. He has a synthetic body, but he is a human. He has free will. He can think for himself. He can make decisions. He has emotions that actually irrationalize his behavior. And he can't figure that out. He can't figure out why he's irrational around Wanda, why he does the things he does. And that's really, really good because he's not an android. He's a human. Even before he was Vision, when he was Jarvis, there was some jokes being cracked about. It's what I can recall back in Iron Man films, is that there were, Jarvis was cracking a few jokes here and there, and he did have a sense of humor. Even as an AI system that Tony built, he still had his humor then. So for Jarvis to already have some sort of self-sentience back then and to be uploaded into a body, and now Vision is Jarvis, so Vision is trying to understand what is going on with him. He's trying to analyze it as a computer would, but computers can't analyze emotion. Computers can't analyze human relationships. Computers can't analyze the human brain. It's far too complicated. Even we don't understand the whole concept of the human brain and why it chooses to do what it does, and free will and decisions and things like that. So with Vision, he's trying to analyze his relationships with other Avengers, with other people. He's trying to analyze his emotions, what's going on inside him, his decisions. But what he fails to realize is that you don't need to analyze these things. You don't need to rationalize these things because he is a human. He chooses to want to protect Wanda. He chooses to like Wanda. He chooses to enjoy Wanda's company over anybody else's. And that's really good because he's choosing these things. And I think with every choice that he makes, with more time spent with Wanda, he's beginning to understand that he's not an android. He's not some kind of machine. He's not a computer. He's actually a person. And I'm hoping in Infinity War we can see more of the interaction there. Maybe Vision will crack a joke or two as reminiscent of Jarvis and Iron Man 2, but I'm not sure. None of us is sure because we haven't seen Infinity War yet. It's not out yet. So what I'm really hoping for to see in the future is, I really hope Vision doesn't, disappear on us. That would be awful. That would be awful for Wanda because then she's gonna probably go a little insane, and we haven't seen the extent of Wanda's powers yet. So, and Vision, I can tell Vision is her closest friend. He is her confidant, and Wanda is Vision's confidant. So I think Vision may end up, when Thanos makes his appearance, I'm pretty sure Vision's going to put himself in harm's way to protect Wanda, which is not good because he has an Infinity Stone in his forehead, and that's what Thanos wants. So in essence, he's gonna go on a suicide mission to make sure that Wanda is safe. I'm not sure if that's really gonna happen in the movie, but we'll see. We'll see when that comes out, and we'll see what kind of interaction is, because there's a lot more people in Infinity War. It's not just the main Avengers that he has to contend with. He has to contend with almost the entire MCU minus all the Netflix shows. So, it's gonna be intense for Vision. For somebody who can barely understand his comrades at the compound, he's gonna be overwhelmed when he meets especially somebody like Star-Lord, who's just clumsy and foolish and foolhardy. I think he's gonna get really confused about that. I don't think he's gonna be very happy with that, and he's gonna have to analyze it more and more. But again, he doesn't need to analyze these things. But no one's actually treating him like a human except for Wanda. And that's why he chooses her company, is because she's the only one that sees him as a human, whereas everyone else sees him as this android, kind of like the T-800 101 model. He's not an android, he's a human. He has free will, he has a choice, as I said before earlier. And these things go over everyone's heads in the films. that Jarvis was still semi-sentient. He still cracked jokes. He still sort of mildly insulted Tony every now and again. And Vision is the same. Vision's a human. I mean, he has his preferences, he has his likes, he has his dislikes. Yeah, he can't eat anything, he doesn't have to eat anything, but you can tell that he wants to be around people, he wants to understand them, he wants to be more like them to fit in. And that's really, really good of him, you know, he's trying to understand his companions, he's trying to understand what being human means. But I don't think he understands that you don't have to try to understand what being human means, because he's already human. We already see him caring for Wanda. We see him trying to protect her. We see him spending time with her. They're like best friends, and for that's already makes him human. So maybe when he accepts the fact that he's already human, maybe then certain things will come out. But for now, I can tell that he is overprotective of Wanda. Whether or not he understands why he's overprotective of her is a different story. But I do know he likes her. There are two peas in a pod, as I said before. And so for him, he's a little bit controlling, because that seems to be his manner. As in, he used his powers to take control of Clint so that Wanda wouldn't leave. So he's kind of controlling in that aspect, but not really, because he was doing it out of concern for her. Because he was afraid that she would go out and get hurt, or she would go out and people would, I guess, mob her. I'm not really sure what he thought. It wasn't really discussed in the film. But we see in that instance that he cares for Wanda. He's concerned about her well-being. And that right there, that makes him human. He's already more human than he was when he first got his body in Age of Ultron. Now, that's not to say maybe more situations like that will arise. Maybe more interactions with the others will happen in Infinity War. Maybe these interactions can be seen. Maybe we can see that he can accept himself as a human, and he doesn't need to keep analyzing his emotions. He doesn't need to keep analyzing himself to find out what maybe is wrong with him, because there's nothing wrong with him. He's evolving. And that's what humans do. Humans evolve as well. We have free will. We change our minds. Sometimes we like this, and sometimes we don't like that. And sometimes we used to like something, and then we don't like it anymore. That's the same with Vision. He doesn't understand. Like I said, he's trying to analyze this as a computer. He's trying to analyze things logically, with logic. And that's not how it works. So I think if someone had told him, look, you can't rationalize human emotions, you can't analyze human emotions, just go with the flow, perhaps then maybe he could accept himself a little more, and maybe be a little more free with his emotions. Maybe we could eventually see him get angry. Maybe we can see him get upset. Maybe we can see him fawn over Wanda, rather than just sit there and talk with her and have tea. These are all interesting aspects. And until we can see more of Vision accepting himself as a human and not having to sit down and analyze and try to rationalize the way he's feeling, we're not really gonna know what is going on with him. Because even now, he's had very little screen time, so it's very little character development, but I can see that the moment he accepts himself as a human, we're gonna see a totally different Vision. And that's what excites me, is that we could very possibly see a different type of Vision. We could see maybe a more outgoing Vision, maybe a more outspoken Vision. But it could also go the other way. He could become more reserved, he could become more cold. But I don't see that for him. He seems very curious about everything around him, and not just his human emotions, just everything in the world. Like, he's very curious. So maybe if he does accept himself as human, perhaps we can see him be more outgoing, as I said before, and that would be interesting. But I do know in Infinity War, if Wanda's in danger and he's nearby, he's gonna throw himself in front of that danger to protect her. This I know for a fact. The question is he gonna survive Infinity War? Is he gonna survive Thanos? We don't know, but I have a hunch that something bad will happen to him just because he has an Infinity Stone, and that's exactly what Thanos is after. Thanos wants those Infinity Stones, and unfortunately, I think Vision is I think that's his power source, so to speak. And if that is the case, if that Mind Stone is his power source, whether it's to operate the body he has or for his abilities. I don't know for sure, but if that is the case, we may not see a vision in later on. But I don't know. Again, it's all speculation. It's all my opinion. But I have high hopes. I'm a very positive person. I do hope that Vision does not just disappear before we can see more of him. And I do want to see more of Vision. I want to see him more in the MCU. I want to see him in more films. I want to see his interaction with other people. I want to see... Oh, we can't see him live Mjolnir anymore because, Hela destroyed that, unfortunately. I wonder if Thor's gonna get another hammer. That would be good. Oh wait, he can't. Asgard was destroyed. Never mind. Never mind. Maybe Loki can use his magic to make one, and maybe Loki's magic with Wanda's magic will be able to make a new hammer for Thor. I don't know, but that's upsetting. Anyway, the point is, the significance of Vision lifting Mjolnir is to say that he's a good person and pure-hearted and worthy to lift the hammer and to handle the hammer. So he's not an evil person. But he is still trying to analyze being human, and that is unnecessary because he doesn't need to analyze anything. He's perfectly fine the way he is. He's a perfect human because he's indecisive. He has free will. He doesn't know what he wants. He doesn't understand himself. And that's pretty much what being human is. We don't always understand the things we do. We don't always understand why we like something. And a lot of times, if we hate something, we can't give a reason for it. We really can't. There's a trance song called Another Chance by Roger Sanchez. I don't like that song. I can't give you a valid reason for it. I just don't like it. I really cannot. I just really don't like it. And that's part of being human is if you don't like something, you can't really explain why you don't like it. You just don't like it. It doesn't suit your mood. It doesn't suit you. It's just the way it is. So maybe if someone told Vision that you don't need to analyze yourself, that you are human and you're fine the way you are, maybe he'd get a little more outgoing. Maybe he'd understand a little more. But no one's told him that because they just see him as an android. And just because he has a synthetic body doesn't mean he's not human. He's very much human. And it's upsetting that nobody else sees this. Maybe I should be the MCU or something. I don't know. Be their psychologist or therapist. That would be fun. Anyway, but Vision is human. To me, he's human. He shows all signs of being human, and he's not an android. He's a human. So hopefully we can see that he accepts this in Infinity War, and I do hope that we see more of him. And I really want to see the dynamic between him and Wanda. Like I said, I know a little bit of the comic book history, so I'm really curious about this. I'm really curious to see their dynamic in Infinity War, assuming they show enough of it. There's a lot of characters in Infinity War. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. But I'm really excited for that. So I guess that Vision is just an android who develops feelings because, again, at the start, Jarvis was just an AI system built by Stark to do everything he wanted to do so that his hands could be free to tinker around with the things in his shop. And even, like I said earlier, Jarvis early on exhibited signs of being more than just an AI system. And Jarvis was built so well that he began to self-evolve. And that's how Stark wanted it. Or unless Tony didn't want it and there's just big surprises of, one of those anomalies that happen. And as I said prior, that Vision is beginning to understand humans. He is beginning to feel emotions. And I'm pretty sure that there will be more interactions with the Avengers, most notably Wanda, and I really hope that they do this. I really hope that there is more interactions with him. And again, it's still too early on to say exactly how he's going to develop as a character, but I have high hopes for him. Hopefully he'll realize he's human, maybe before, Thanos comes and ruins everything. That would be bad. I want to see him admit feelings to Wanda. I want to see him admit that, Tony's a good friend, or that Thor's a great companion, or something like that. I really want, or that Bruce is a great chess partner. I really want to see him interact with other people, and I really hope that it happens before Thanos decides to do something awful to Vision. That would be unhappy. That would make me unhappy, and I'll be very, very upset. I want to see the interactions before Thanos does anything bad. But as I've seen a teaser, I've seen a trailer, and I'm upset, but I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen. So hopefully before that happens, before the big event happens, Vision can come to terms with himself being human. And maybe after that event happens and he's able to, can't say anything right now, maybe he'll come to terms himself before or after that he is human. and that he can finally admit things to himself, and he can finally admit that he likes Wanda, and that he enjoys her company because he chooses to, because he actually does love her. Whether or not he's going to admit this to himself or to her is a different story, but I am highly, highly interested in what's going to happen. So until Infinity War comes out, we're going to have to wait and find out. So that's all there is to it. Again, thank you for listening to my ramblings. I hope it wasn't too boring. I feel I didn't have much to talk about, but I do hope you liked the analyzation of Vision. And honestly, I'm really excited this Friday for Infinity War, so hopefully we'll get some answers, and if not, we'll just have to move forward and figure things out for ourselves and make more fan theories. That's all there is to it. So again, thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I want to state for the record that I am not a licensed psychologist, nor am I claiming to be one. I'm just fascinated by mood, personality, and mental disorders of the world. They're not openly discussed, but as a society, we are getting there. And I really do enjoy comic book and movie characters. So instead of sitting at home and analyzing these ladies and gents myself and racking my brain over this, I thought I'd share it with the world. Let me know if I've done an okay job, a good job, or a horrible job at this, because this is all new for me. And don't forget to share this podcast if you liked it. Again, thank you for listening to my ramblings, and tune in next time.